Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about the ventricles of the brain. So let's not waste any of your time. Let's get right to it. Now, when we're talking ventricles of the brain, the first thing we want to reference is the fact that this is a pathway. This is a empty space location for the cerebral spinal fluid, and the idea of where it's made here in the brain, to the flowing throughout the areas of the brain where it needs to, and the spinal cord. And if you look at the diagram over there, the blue areas, that's part of this pathway for the cerebral spinal fluid that we're going to talk a bunch about in the next video. But we wanted to use this video to set up that pathway. So we're going to talk about the four main areas that are part of the production of the cerebral spinal fluid and kind of the housing of it. So we'll start with, as you can see, the lateral ventricles. There's two of them, one on each side, one on each hemisphere, and you can see them kind of at the top of that blue area pointing to, and then down below there is the third ventricle. The lateral ventricle, that counts for one or two, whichever one. If you're a lefty and you want to say the left is the first, that's fine. If you're a righty and you want to say the right's the first, that's also fine. But it's the two lateral ventricles, and then connecting the third ventricle is that little bitty pathway there, the intraventricular foramen. And again, as we've referenced, anytime you see the word foramen, I shouldn't say, we probably haven't well, no, we would have in the vertebrae, around the vertebrae. Anytime you see the word foramen, what you're just referring to is a hole or a pathway through to get to something else. So like all of your blood vessels, when you think in vertebrae and bones, and your vertebrae would have had a large foramen in it, so your nerves and your blood vessels can move in and out of there. And foramen just simply means a hole where there's a pathway to get through an area, to get resources in there. Okay, now your third ventricle, as I said, right below the laterals. It's almost like the laterals are the big wavy arching things in the picture, and then that third ventricle is that little circly thing right below them, almost like it fits into the groove of the arch or the curve. And that's in the hypothalamus thalamus area, the dicephalon. It's in that area. And then the fourth ventricle, you can see, runs down from there through the central aqueduct, or cerebral aqueduct, like getting a little pathway to get it down there. We all understand, or we should understand, what an aqueduct is: a water movement area. You could think of a stormwater runoff as an aqueduct, or just a pathway for water to move. That kind of stuff. But it moves down into the fourth ventricle, and then it goes out to all the other areas, around the brain, wrapping around, as you can see there. And it also goes down into the spinal cord from there. Alright, and here's a live brain. I shouldn't say live. Here's a real brain look at this, and it's interesting in this one, and we'll include information that we've already talked about. You can clearly see the gray matter kind of weaving through the top, that reticular formation, that web that we referred to earlier, with those tracks running through there. But in the center, you can see the two lateral tracks, nice and large, and then you can see in that little bitty opening, almost like a cone-shaped opening, is the third ventricle, or down into the third ventricle, and of course the fourth is out from there. So, but that's a good look at the difference between the gray and the white matter. And you can even see the corpus callosum there. It's pointed out. It's directed there to you, and that's where again the tracks should be going from side to side, and then connecting with the tracks that go down the rest of the body. Well, that's our video over the ventricles of the brain. When we come back in our next time, as I mentioned, we'll be talking about the central spinal fluid along with the brain blood barrier. We'll see you then.